Hi, Ruchi. You're visible to me. Can you just check your audio as well?
What are you saying?
Can you check your audio? Am I audible to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Am
So,
I audible to you?
yes, same. So, Pranal, you can start letting everyone in. Okay, let's begin. Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome to everyone from Symbiosis Center for Emotional Wellbeing. My name is Elisa, and I'm a junior counselor from SKU, and for today, I will be your host. So, on the occasion of Pride Month being celebrated, we are hosting this webinar called Parenting with Pride. Our webinar today will equip parents with valuable knowledge and understanding of the LGBTQ plus community. While some of us have a slight idea about it, most of us are still confused and would like to be educated and made aware. Especially as parents, it is the need of the hour to be aware about it. So, keeping this in mind, today with us we have Ms. Ruchi Rana. She is a psychologist and certified psychotherapist and has been working as a mental health professional for over 13 years. She is the founder of Namaste Psychology, which provides mental health services ranging from counseling, therapy to workshops and hands-on learning experience. While Ruchi's expertise lies in clinical mental health issues like depression, anxiety disorders, and personality disorders, her work in queer community has been commendable. She has been conducting workshops for mental health professionals and trying to make mental health care services more accessible to the LGBTQ plus community. So I welcome Ms. Ruchi today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Ruchi today will be guiding us in getting a comprehensive understanding of the LGBTQ plus community. So take the
All right. Can you give me the presentation rights so I can?
No, I have already allocated for sharing rights over there. Please check.
Okay. So is it visible to everybody?
yes, it is.
Yes, visible.
All right. Okay. So good morning to everybody, and thank you for that lovely introduction, Elisa. Thank you, Mrs. Girija Mare, to have me and SKU. I'm really glad because I've been working with community for a long time and been doing a lot of work that Elisa just mentioned. But reaching up to parents is something that I always, want to do because I think it starts from there. The struggles that at least the generation right now is going is where I feel the understanding of the community isn't there, right? It's just the understanding. I think the gap is there because there is no awareness and there is lack of understanding of what this is. Okay, so since this is Pride Parenting and it's Pride Month, thank you all for attending. All the parents, I'm really glad that you'll at least open for the awareness. And I feel I'm going to try and cover as much as I can, which I feel in terms of, awareness to begin with is required. There's a lot. I don't think I can cover all of that in 1 hour. But yeah, let's start with it and let's see how we can. I think question answer wise, we are going to take it at end. So as in when we go, I think people can probably type questions if y'all require, or y'all can just wait for when we start with Q&A so we don't miss your questions. Okay, so is this PPT visible clearly to everybody? Elisa, is it visible?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, all right. So let's just start with what we mean by pride and what do we mean by parenting pride. So I feel it's not about a family who has a queer person in the family. It's about every parent getting informed, because this is about what we are accepting as Indian community now. And if you're not aware of what are the changes happening, then we are almost not aware of a lot of things around, right? We're almost not aware of what our children are going through, or even their friends, or what they are also. So even if our child doesn't belong to the community, it's also one of the friends, one of the person. So it's a job of adult to sensitize them about it and sensitize ourselves. Okay, so I feel that's the opportunity we can take today. So embracing diversity and understanding pride, both of it. So I think we begin from here. She's mentioned about what Namaste psychology is, and I'm not going to get more into depth of that right now. Let's just start with what LGBTQIA means and QIA plus means. Okay, so basics, right? We all know, we've been hearing about queer, we've been hearing a lot about what's happening at the end of the law with LGBTQIA, but let's just decode this and understand. I have kind of made it easier for everybody to read through this, so that while I'm talking, you all have something to get hooked on to. Number one, understanding what, when we call or when we label, or when somebody says that I identify myself as lesbian, they are trying to say that they are, as a person, attracted to same sex, meaning women are attracted to women. When somebody says I'm gay, or I belong to community of gays, it simply means that I'm attracted to same sex. So gay is a very generic term used by community. They may or may not sometimes say that I'm lesbian, but even lesbian and gay community say that they are gay, because it just means being attracted to same sex. Okay, so a lot of these jargons, these new words could be, I'm not sure if this is something that you all know as parents. It could be disturbing, it could be something very new, but I suppose if it is at all triggering to yours, please, you can take a break for a minute or two while we are talking ahead. But otherwise, let's just understand it as a concept, and more than anything else. Okay. So mainly gay is a terminology used by people when they are mentioning that they are attracted to men are attracted to men. Okay, bisexual as a terminology is used when the attraction is to people of multiple genders. Okay, similarly, transgender is something that they have been biologically born as a girl, but they don't agree to that biological sex, and their preferences is not something that we mention here. So there is no relation to sexual preferences here. It is just that what they feel, and they identify themselves as sex opposite to the one they have been biologically born with. Okay, queer. So queer is a terminology again used in common. Queer is a lot of people from community call themselves as queer community. Queer is a terminology used in terms of generic, that queer is basically differentness. Okay, so people who belong to Q, which is queer, identify as people whose sexuality is beyond the heteronormative society. So let's just say that I belong to I am a heterosexual because I am a female and I'm attracted to the opposite sex. Okay, my pronouns are she and her. Okay, so pronouns is something that I'll talk about. So we say that queer community is a community, or a queer person is a person who identifies themselves and goes beyond the heteronormative norm, okay, of the society, meaning what is accepted by society. Okay, intersex, whereas, is terminology used for people who are born with genital organs of both the sexes. So it's a genetic condition, it's a biological condition. Asexuals are people who are uncomfortable with any kind of sexual contact with anyone. Okay, in asexuals there are several kinds of asexuals, so we'll not get into that, but it's simply if you have to understand them, it is about being uncomfortable with the sexual contact with anyone. They have no interest relating to sexuality with their partners, but there could be different interests. And plus means the bandwidth of the spectrum is increasing. There are different kind of sexualities and genders, and we are from heteronormative society, no one to sort of just code them into one label, and that's why the plus sign, which says that there can be more. Okay, all right, getting on to next. Simply, let's just understand why are we finding it so difficult to understand what LGBTQI or queer community is, and why is it so uncomfortable? Okay, is everything okay? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there was
Yes.
some disturbance. Is everything okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, how do we understand what this community, why are they different, or why are they humans but different from what we have tried to put as a heteronormative society? Okay. Again, heteronormative is a person who is of the sex, they identify of the sex they are born with, and they are also attracted to the opposite sex. Okay, and we belong to the marital norms, we belong to all the norms that have been put up as heteronormative society. So let's just understand what is a person who belongs to queer feels. Okay, number one, identity is something that has been come up as a factor. It's a factor that a person identifies because they think so. Okay, they think so that I am this. They don't need to have any proof, they don't need to prove, it's just about their thinking and what they believe in. Okay, we say that attraction is all about our heart. We get attracted to a person because our heart says so, our heart believes so. So, generally, attraction, which I spoke about in the LGBTQI decoding, is all about attraction. Okay, then that is why identity can change. So I can still feel that I am a female who belongs to a female heteronormative society, but also I'm attracted to a female, so I am lesbian, so I belong to queer community too. Okay, expression gender expression is said to be in the format where we understand how the person is behaving. So a female, sometimes we hear these norms as a female is behaving like a tomboy, a male is behaving like a girl. So every male who behaves like a girl, okay, may or may not belong to queer community, and every male female who behaves like a male may or may not belong to. So we have these labels that we put on of how people express, but expression is completely what they want to and how they feel and how they identify themselves as. Okay, and sex is a biological sex, how a person was born. Okay, and what the doctor informs finally as looking at the genitals is what sex can be identified as. Okay, am I clear till here? Am I going in a good pace, Elisa? Is this fine?
Yes.
Okay. Since I can't see everybody, if there's anything, do let me know. Okay. Here now, breaking it down simply again for you all to understand as parents, gender identity is something that they believe from what they feel, what they believe, what their thought or thinking processes. So gender identity can be about women or womenness, it can be about man or manness. Okay, gender expression is about how they feel, so how they express themselves about when how they feel or how they identify themselves, they'll express it in that manner. So gender expression is generally the outward expression. Okay, what they talk, how they sit, how they behave, what kind of clothes they wear, so that expresses the gender. And it is mostly divided into femininity and masculinity, but that's not enough, and that's why we say there is more to it. Okay, gender expression can be very different. Anatomical sex is what we spoke about right now, that it is something that biologically the person is born with. Okay, now just to give you an update that identity, expression, and sex do not need to be in alignment. Gender and sexual orientation do not need to be in alignment. They are not the same thing. They are all different. Okay, so see, these days we see these forms, especially government forms, especially all the forms that we have started to see in a lot of spaces where we go fill form, there is male, female, intersex, and not to be specified otherwise. So they have these, and I think colleges also have to started to have that, because we are trying to accept the queer community. Now coming to what sexually attracted to or romantically attracted to means. So a what we're trying to say here is these two can be very different things. Okay, so sexually attraction or sexual attraction and romantic attraction means simply again what a person identifies and expresses about. So again, what we're trying to say here is it can be in a different alignment, it need not necessarily be in the same alignment. We have put put these labels as a female will be feminine and will be attracted to a male who's stronger, who's so, these are labels put by us, but they may not necessarily belong to queer community in the same manner. So of course, it's sometimes difficult to understand what queer community is feeling and thinking. Easiest is to ask them, ask what they are feeling and thinking, ask what they are, doing. Asking will make more sense rather than just, assuming things about queer community. Coming to pronouns, pronouns are simply said to be a part of queer community and allies of community. Allies are people who are advocating about queer community. So I am an ally, okay? And pronouns are something that I want to put up there because people from queer community can identify me that I am somebody who is accepting of queer. So basically, they are gender pronouns. Okay, they are something that are called as preferred pronouns. So each person of queer community can decide, and allies can decide, and anybody who wants to be an ally can decide their own pronouns. So my pronouns are she and her. Simply means I identify myself as female, but these are my pronouns. Okay, so there are pronouns like he and him. So a lot of people who you'll see have started to put their pronouns in bracket just besides their name. Okay, these are individuals who identify themselves male and masculine. She and her are individuals who identify as female as feminine. They and them are used by individuals who identify as non-binary, gender queer, or gender non-conforming. Okay, so can belong to any LGBTQIA, but they can have their they them as their pronouns. So they are still in a state of probably, finding what they are, who they are, trying to identify themselves. And sometimes there could be a pronoun as he, they. So they identify as male and masculine, but they are still in the process of identifying. Okay, neopronouns are called noun self pronouns. This is something that is coming up newly. It's a format where they want to add a noun before their pronouns, and it can depend. It can be about the favorite, their favorite animal, a favorite pet, a favorite thing. So basically, they identify their gender with a favorite thing of theirs or something that they want to identify themselves as. Okay, so neopronouns is something that is newly coming up right now, and we see a lot of people using them. So it reflects, and they choose these neopronouns from the aspect of what their gender identity is. Okay, so some people are people who they love pets, but it's not just enough to love pets. They want to affirm and conform to that, and so they will have a neopronoun of a pet and then their pronoun. So examples include z, here, a, m. These are examples, but as of now I'm not seeing that as much happening around India, but yet I would say that it is a new thing that's coming up, and people are trying to identify their pronouns in that sense. So it's called noun self pronouns. Okay. Okay, coming to what pride parenting. So what is pride? Let's just say in the words of pride, we can say that pride simply means that somebody who is accepting, somebody who is ready to take in people of different colors, sex, gender, identity, everything. So pride is a community that says that they belong to queer folk community. It's a sense where individuals are empowered of whatever background they are. They're accepted. They are helped to take the acceptance as self. They are celebrated no matter what orientation or gender or expression they belong to. Okay, so it's a more wider community than heteronormative. It's a community where they are accepting human of any kind. Okay, this has come up because, of course, with heteronormative society marginalizing them, probably not accepting of them, and community that way gradually has been called as pride community because they needed to find their own grounds and space. And so this community, and so there is Pride March, Pride Month, and a lot of things happening around pride. Okay, of course, again, if we look at very simply, pride represents that they don't want to be just accepted. They want visibility. They want to be out there. They want to have normal legalities, norms, acceptance as just every other human being, because the simple context is they are humans. Okay, so pride community or pride fosters that they are accepted, at least by that community. There is less of resilience against them. They will be accepted of who they are, what they are, and what they feel. Okay, and Pride community gradually has become a community where everything related to legalities, to rights, and things that are changing within the community are accepted within the Pride community and are welcomed. So what that is what simply Pride means. It's their own community that is helping each other to sort of, get their ground on, where heteronormative society is more dominant. Now let's just go through some of the summaries of LGBTQIA rights in India. I'm sure that a lot of things that we may not know could be something new to you all. It's important that you all know this, and this is some of the things that are available in India. So let's just say same-sex sexual activity it's legal in India since 2018. Equal age of consent, meaning at 18 a person, two people, so we have the consent in heteronormative society also, that at 18 years they can decide who they want to be with. It's similar for LGBTQIA too, so since 2018, not prior to that. So there are anti-discrimination laws and employment for the community right now in India. Anti-discrimination laws in the provision of goods and services is also available in India. So meaning, I'm trying to give you the grounds that queer community, Pride community, LGBTQI community have these laws for them. Okay, so basically even law accepts them, identifies them. Okay, and so then who are we to not identify them? Anti-discrimination laws in all other areas like indirect discrimination and other acts of discrimination is also present in some states of India, not present in some states of India. So that's why it's across and a tick mark, because it's still happening within certain states. Same-sex marriages is a pending decision. Currently, it's going on the courts. It's a pending decision, and let's just hope that the decision goes into favor. Recognition of same-gendered couples since 2020, limited cohabitation rights granted to these people by courts, meaning being together, being able to be together, staying together is something that is accepted by courts. Okay, stepchild adoption and same-sex couple. So currently, even same-sex marriage is something that is court pending decision. So this will follow. Okay, and let's just say that adoption by LGBTQI individuals is a tick mark. So this is a confusing kind of a right. So this is something that I normally tell my, queer individuals or people who come to counseling to, if they're looking for this kind of adoption, or they're looking for any kind of, being together, they need to have a lawyer so that they don't fall into a sue or have issues. Okay, then international joint adoption by same sex is again a court. So these are certain court decisions that are pending, which means it's an ongoing court thing. Okay, access to in vitro, so IVF for lesbians since 2018, it's a accepted decision by court. Okay, altruistic surrogacy for individuals not allowed. It's a pending decision. Automatic parenthood on birth certificates for child or same-sex couples. Currently, again, not even a pending decision, is just proposed and given into the law of court. Okay, going ahead, right to change legal gender. So there are these gender assignment surgeries. So that since 2014, it's a medical intervention required, which means preferably people from transsexual or transgender community require to meet at least two counselors, two psychiatrists. They need to meet an endocrinologist, and yet they can go through all this procedure. So it's legal in India. Okay, coverage of sex reassignment surgery is also since 2023 available in India, which is one of the most amazing things that have come out of the court. Intersex minors protected from invasive surgical procedure, because when a biological child who's born with two different genitals, at an age when he's minor, a parent decides whether this person should be a girl further or a boy, is something that is banned. Okay, only in the state of Tamil Nadu, and it's pending in India, in Delhi. Otherwise, across India, it's still legal. It is absolutely horrendous, but it is legal. Third gender option since 2014. So we have, like I said, male, female, third gender, intersex. These are options that come into the form because it is legal since 2014. Anti-discrimination laws covering gender identity and gender expression in all aspects, like we mentioned some time back, are available in India. Trans women are protected under domestic violence just since 2023. Okay, so these are few of the most important rights. Just certain rights that you all need to know about is homosexuality declassified as an illness. Absolutely, it is not a illness. It is not an illness. It is not a pathology. It's a normal norm of human. Okay, homosexuality is normal. Transgenderism is declassified. Again, it's not an illness. LGBTQI individuals allowed to serve openly in military, a pending court decision. Conversion therapy is banned. Okay, we'll be talking a bit about that. And can MSMs allow to donate blood? Again, it's so you see that there are certain basic laws that heteronormative societies don't even have to think about are still pending decision by court for this community. Okay, and that's why we still believe we still put them into marginalized community because they are still fighting for some of the basic human rights. As parents, as allies, we need to know about Section 377. It's a Section 377. It says that homosexuality is not criminalized act anymore. Okay, it says that it's not a criminalized, so it's decriminalized. Okay, and a lot of people don't look at it from that point of view, that when it is decriminalized since 2018, so as an ally, as parents, or as somebody who belongs to heteronormative society, we are no one to disagree to this. We are no one to help them, force them to change what they are feeling, and it could be a court law against us if we continue to do that. Okay, all right. So this is just a statement that I feel is more important. I feel that this was given by Justice Indu Malhotra, and I feel that this is the sense that we all must have. That I'm just going to read this out because this is really important. History owes an apology to the members of this community, meaning LGBTQIA community, and their families for the delay in providing redressal for the ignominy and ostracism that they have suffered through the centuries. The members of this community were compelled to live life full of fear and reprisal and persecution. This was on account of the ignorance of the majority to recognize that homosexuality is completely natural condition, part of a range of human sexuality. So this is what I've been talking for some time, that we're talking of how normal it is. Homosexuality is normal. Transsexuality is normal. Intersex is normal. This is a normal human sexuality, a range of human sexuality. Okay, now let's talk about us. Who is an ally? What do they do? What is an ally? Okay, an ally is someone who supports and advocates LGBTQ community. If they do not identify themselves as LGBTQIA plus community, yet they support and advocate. Okay, allies work to create inclusive and accepting spaces for LGBT individuals. So by doing simple things like, I'm here today to talk about them. Your parents are there. SKU has arranged this. This is a part of being ally. Okay, like I accept a queer community for counseling, and I mentioned it everywhere that I'm a queer affirmative therapist. I put my pronouns, which gives out to to community who are still not outed or not have come out to identify where they can seek help. Okay, allies are people who actively listen, have no prejudice, have no discrimination in their mind, and they actively are available to help. Okay, being an ally involves you need to continuously learn, because there's a lot that's changing in their community, because they're still finding their ground. And so you're somebody who is, if you're an ally, you are ought to be learning, growing, and standing for them when required. Okay, how can you be? One simple few steps: educate yourself. There's a lot available about them. Ask the people of the community, they'll tell you a lot. Okay, listen and validate. Just simply listening to somebody who belongs to the community can be enough to be an ally too, in case you can't do furthermore. Speak up when required. Simple ways, right? Like once you've come up from this today's webinar, once you've learned few things, is it possible for you to go speak in social communities where you belong? Okay, where can you talk about it? Can you educate them rightly if possible? Okay, as much as possible, use inclusive language, which means, like I said, put up your pronouns, talk that I am accepting of queer. Even that much is enough. Okay, I know it's not possible for everybody to amplify their voice and talk about it every time. It could be something that it's against the culture and norms, but you can start with one person, if not in a bigger society. Okay, there are few organizations like Namaste Psychology, like Q. A lot of these organizations who support LGBTQI and communities. So see if you can support them and be in touch with them. And I feel if the simplest somebody belonging as an ally who wants to be an ally can do is just be open and approachable. Sometimes you don't need to do more than just know where can you tell this person to seek help from. So when you educate yourself and understand there is help available, because there are ample number of things that are available for them, it can be enough that you don't know more, but you know what the resource where you can go and seek help. Okay, all right, Elisa, is this going fine?
Absolutely. We
All
have
right,
time as well.
any questions up till now?
We'll do that in the second part of your section once we take everyone's questions.
Okay, so I just thought that there are some myths that we all need to sort of now discard, that queerness is a Western trend or a fad. Queer people, LGBTQI, everything has started to just come up and it's a fad. It is not. It always existed. It goes back to the history since I don't know when, even beyond Buddhism. So it's a historically grafted, historically noted down that queerness always existed. It was us within heteronormative society that we decided to sort of discard, and now we are just trying to say that these are the myths that you need to let go. Okay, they can be converted. So we're going to talk about a bit about conversion therapy, but no, it can't be, they can't be converted because it's not an illness. It's not a psychopathology, which means that they have some major psychotic illness. No, it isn't. No psychopathology textbook agrees to this. So there cannot be any conversion. And conversion without consensus is a law that you're breaking. So you could be sued if you are converting a person against their wish. Okay. I did something wrong, meaning there is no link that as a parent, okay, you will, as a parent, you are still, as a person who belongs to queer community is still identifying themselves. It can be a journey, it can be a spectrum that they take while to identify, come to terms with themselves, because our heteronormative norms have been so embedded since they have been born, so it takes a while. So as a parent, you did something wrong, could be possible, okay, but it's okay to understand that sexual orientation and gender identity is an inherent trait, and it's not something that as a parent you have done wrong. Nothing that biologically has come wrong from you. Okay, all right. This is something that I hear so commonly by parents, that is just a phase, it will go away. Well, I agree if parents would say this about them, about their children, about themselves, that is just a phase, it will go away, but it could be a phase when they are still not an adult. But when adult is identifying as something and saying, then please agree to it. Okay.
Excuse me. All the questions are to be reserved for the end. Please continue, please.
Okay, so again, when you just dismiss them by saying that is just a phase, it can have a lot of psychological impacts. We as psychologists are very aware that when at 12, 13, 14 years of age, when a child is saying that, we always counsel parents in that way so that they are aware of what they can do and cannot do. So that's a part of counseling where we do tell them that if child is talking about this, talking about belonging to this community, and it is something new for you, it's also a part that that child and you both are going to progress to understand gradually only. Okay. So that fear that a lot of parents have, that because my child now belongs to queer community, I'm not going to be a grandparent. We saw certain laws, and it's not true. It doesn't hold true completely. Okay, let's just get on to understanding how it's completely normal. From a psychological perspective, it has been acknowledged, it has been discarded as any kind of psychopathology, homosexuality, okay, and it's considered as a valid variation of human sexual orientation. Okay. Also, I feel we have to understand that LGBTQI and plus the spectrum is accepted by Psychological Association and India and America and across the world. Um, of course, I can not talk for each country, but it has been accepted as a norm, as a spectrum, as not as a mental health disorder or any kind of psychological abnormality. It's accepted as a diversity of human sexual orientation. Okay, so just as we say that human sexuality is diverse, okay, and accepting that could be something that belongs to either the norm now and to the being an ally. So homosexuality is normal. Orientation is something that is decided by the person. Okay, it's an individual's thing, but it is important to recognize and respect that diversity of human sexual orientation exists. Okay. um, Also within the psychological community, I would say there is consensus of that queer community exists. I would also disagree that there are few mental health professionals that are struggling with it too, just like a lot of us struggle. Okay, but there is consensus within psychological community that LGBTQI people are normal and it is normal to treat them just like any other case. Okay, if because they are humans, so just like any other case, they may have the psychological difficulties. Okay. I feel that research has consistently been able to show that LGBTQI community are inherently associated to higher risk of mental health issues due to various reasons, due to because they're outed, they are fearful to even talk about themselves, they are still on the spectrum to recognize and identify themselves sometimes as adolescent, and so just speaking about it can label them for life, and so they want to just keep it with themselves. It's also because it could be just simply that there is family genetic mental health issue and may not just belong to just because they belong to a queer community. Okay, so when we have research base that says that LGBTQI plus individuals are more at higher risk of mental health issues, we're just trying to inform you here that they, because of these issues, there could be that they appear to be more in trouble or more different than what they are. Okay. We say that as much as possible, supporting and understanding that they are authentic, they are humans, and they are individuals who are talking from what they feel, think, and believe. If it is possible for us as humans to just understand that human diversity is there is possibility of human diversity, and as individuals, as parents, it's not something that has been done by you that can foster this kind of development. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go through conversion therapy that has been banned. Conversion therapy was supposed to be a therapy done by mental health professionals long ago, which said that, which came from a space of, homophobia, came from a space of, you want to just let go of and kill the feeling of human beings because what they are feeling is not to what we are feeling as heterosexual. So it's not normal. So the label is, it was not normal. No more that label is attached. And even psychology community, psychiatry community, mental health community doesn't anymore identify it as an illness, disease, or psychopathology. Okay, all right. Let's just understand what human diversity I've been talking about. There is a concept called dimorphism. It simply says that let's just take a bunch of people, bunch of students from class, and we always sort of, develop our children by saying that every child is different, whether it's how they think, feel, how they behave, how they look, what kind of choices they make, their height, their hair, and we can go on with the list of it. No one human being is same. So we apply that concept to even sexuality and orientation, that the dimorphism exists, and not one human feeling can be similar to other, not one human attraction can be similar to other. And that is why conversion therapy has been banned. And across the country, if it is conversion therapy is still being, recorded or accepted by any mental health professional, it goes under the legality, and that person can be sued if the person who's going through conversion therapy is adult. If somebody who's minor is going through that, then the guardians can be sued. So please be aware of this law. You can read a lot about this online more. All right. I'm going to go through some important research. Okay. let's just understand that if family acceptance is there, what is it doing to the queer community? It's wonderful to really see. I've seen it in so many cases personally. When family starts to accept through whatever process that they go through with their challenges, but when they start to accept, individuals start to feel very different. They feel belonged, they feel together, they feel there is somebody. But if there is no acceptance, it's reported that almost it's likely that attempted suicide, depression, getting into illegal drugs, all the impulsive behaviors as a child, as an adult. Okay, even as an adult, even if a 22 23-year is not being accepted, we're seeing all these kind of risks that they undergo. Okay, all the impulsive acts like drugs, alcohol, unprotected sexual intercourse, these are things that we see in this community more prevalent because there is no acceptance, there is no belongings, there's nobody that they have. Okay, of course, if family acceptance is there, if belongingness is there, it doesn't mean a person may not feel all the other psychological feelings, that negative feelings that a person can go through. But at least that 1% or 5% of risk that comes from there is nobody while I'm going through the struggle reduces if there is family acceptance. It just helps in promotion of simple things like I'm accepted, I am there, my esteem is there, my worth is there, there's somebody who accepts me as I am. Okay, all right. So these were few of, so which simply means that we've been seeing cases where they don't have any backup, they don't have any family or guardian or friends. It's one of the toughest cases to handle because for them belongingness, or being, why am I here is where it starts. Okay, so I feel that just when you are, as a person, if we have a client coming to us, we need families also to come into counseling, and we try to see that this can be done. Now let's just talk about, since we're talking about parenting, we understood what pride is, what laws are there, what LGBTQI community talks about, who they are. Okay, we've covered all of this. Let's just understand gender neutral parenting, a new terminology which has been existing for long, but newly, has come up. A lot of talks around, a lot of schools have accepted this. So what is gender neutral parenting? It's simple. It's an approach where you do not put your child, you do not put a person, a minor, into stereotypes, into things that only you believed in. Okay, because now you're understanding that the LGBTQI community exists, you start to make it more gender neutral. So you don't just say that boys wear pink, don't wear pink, boys only wear blue, boys don't cry, boys don't do this, or girls don't do that. You do not put them into any stereotypes. Okay, because you're accepting of gender freeness, gender identity, and expression of gender identity is on spectrum. Okay, gender neutral parenting is aiming that each child is accepting of other, no matter how, whether it belongs to LGBTQI or not, whether it belongs to any kind of community. Just like we talk about, let's just accept in school, we cannot just have our own religion people around, we're accepting of everybody. Similarly, gender neutral parenting in terms of queer community belongs to the same concept, that we're accepting of person who and how they are. Okay, just acceptance. We are not saying that we need to have closeness with them, we need to do something for them. We're just saying that accepting of gender neutral parenting, accepting of people who they are, person who they are, or even the families who they are. Okay, gender neutral parenting will help now if you belong to that kind of parenting, because your children are out there, they are meeting these kind of people even if you're not. And the more you do not talk about this, the more you're making them uncomfortable, because they are getting awareness about this, they are getting exposed to these. Okay, and it can get very difficult for them to express even if they don't belong to community. All right, simple benefits of gender neutral parenting, I think number one, it just talks about equality. It talks about that belongingness, that you are belonging to a 2023 community, society. You're, as a parent, as a person, you're not somebody who's unaware of things. Okay, so it promotes self-expression. So even if you don't belong to that community, you're aware and you're accepting of what's happening, changes that are happening across human spectrum. Also, I feel that these days children want their friends, their parents to not sort of have any kind of inequality approach. So it helps to be in sync with your children. Okay. All right. Another feel I have that if parents belong to gender neutral parenting simply, they are encompassing, enhancing, and helping everybody around to just foster empathy as a parent. Empathy is something that is being seen as a difficult, as a challenge, because when you don't understand what this community is, how will you empathize? So it begins from educating yourself and empathizing too. Okay, it of course without a doubt creates an inclusive environment for everything, not just LGBTQIA, but when you are gender neutral, you're saying that you're accepting of any person of caste, creed, color, community. Okay. All right, thank you. I have been able to cover as much as I feel was important for parents to understand, parents to know. Let's just see how we can have an open discussion here.
Thank you, Ruchi. This was really helpful for us to understand the different aspects of the community. And I'm sure, like, as you said, that the gender neutral parenting, this must have definitely brought some clarity to parents on how to help their children in that. So, as we were getting a lot of questions when you were giving the presentation. So we'll move on to the next part. So I would request the people who have some questions, you can either raise your hands to ask the questions directly, or you can type out your questions in the chat box.
Elisa, there's already one question in the chat box.
Okay, so Kadilur Satyanan has asked if surrogacy is permitted for the pride population. So I'm assuming they're asking for both the couple. Is that allowed?
Sorry, can you repeat the question to me?
Is surrogacy permitted for the pride population? So for the LGBTQ community, is that allowed?
No, it's still pending.
Ms. Sakshi Desai, can you please ask your question?
Yes, thank you so much. Actually, my question is not at all related to this topic, but there was an earlier session last week with parents where the principal had introduced SCM HRD Institute to all the parents. So that time parents had formed a WhatsApp group. I just wanted to know if that WhatsApp group is formed, as I'm not the part of that group. I know this is not the forum to ask this question, but there was no other way to communicate with the parents.
Actually, ma'am, we cannot help you there as that's not something we're oriented or know about. But we can like definitely ask you to reach out someone who will know something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question?
Elisa, Mr. Shantanu had raised his hand earlier. Sir, if you're here, could you please ask your question?
Okay, maybe they're not available. So anyway, as we had already sent in a previous form to our parents, so they could submit their questions anonymously because so we have already collected a few questions that I'll be asking you. So one of the first questions that they kept asking was, what are some common misconceptions about the LGBTQ community and how can parents address them?
Common misconceptions about LGBT community, right? So like I had taken up a lot of myths here. I feel all of those myths are something that, do you want me to reiterate them again?
Yeah, sure. Like if in general, like what is the most common thing that people keep saying out loud?
Yeah, so I feel the most common myth or difficulty or challenge that parents go through when they have somebody queer at home is to be able to talk about it to other family members. That's one of the biggest challenge, and the myth is that I as a parent have done something wrong, or I as a mother have done something wrong. So I feel that's something that needs to be reiterated again, that there is no biological sense to this. Okay, there is no biology that is going to say that there has been something wrong because of which my child is lesbian, gay. Okay, so that's one common thing. Second is that nobody will accept of them. So that's another myth, that it's absolutely untrue. There are a lot of people coming out talking about it. There is a queer community, so we have a lot of support system for children. Maybe I can say this holds true for smaller cities or towns or villages, but then yet there are people who are coming out and talking, and communities being formed.
Right, exactly. And I think lot of communities, especially in big cities, there are spaces, safe spaces for people of the community where they're accepted, and you know, it's really good for them. And like I think Pune itself has had a pride parade as well, and you know, it's like the more we talk about it, the better it's been getting. And so the next question is, as a parent, like if they have someone, an LGBTQ plus community child in their family, how would they be able to communicate with them to show them that there's a safe space for them?
Come back with the question again.
So if a family has a LGBTQ plus community child, and how would the parents show that safe space for them, show them that you know they're accepting, they're there for them? Because a lot of times, parents itself are awkward talking about these things.
Absolutely. There is a taboo still in our society about it. So, as parents, I think, just like I said, educate yourself about it by simply, reading a lot that's coming up right now. Number one, try to have maybe in your home space, try to have a normal chat around it without any opinions. Maybe somebody close by who knows about this, try to see if their education, what they're going to educate is, ethical enough, then try to have that person over a chat about it. I have also requested a lot of parents to have some gender neutral parenting books that they read, or get them at home and let them be around. So a child will know that, whatever I'm feeling is probably something that parents know about, so I can talk to them about. It could also be from your own space where you do not have rigid norms about feminineness and womenness or menness, so that those are simple things. But simply communication means that what you know, talk to your child and say that I may not be completely right, but this is what I know about queer community, this is what I know about what's happening around. So you may have friends, you may feel so just talking about this and having a chat right from a child. So gender neutral parenting, right? So it starts from whatever age the child is. It doesn't stop at any particular or begin at any particular age. I've also asked my parents a lot of times when I go out there for community work, I talk to parents, I tell them if it's possible to simply make a shift from saying that, I am not going to accept anything beyond this, and just to make a shift to say that if there's anybody who's different than I am, not just because of gender orientation or sexual orientation, but just that, I like X thing to eat, doesn't mean you need to like that. I like simple, smaller things, doesn't mean you need to like that. So simply from there, we can start a communication of acceptance of a child of different kinds. So I feel these are few things you can do.
So it's like the smallest thing that we can do is show them that you know we're here, and therefore we can figure these things out together. So one more big question is, a lot of not every mental health professional is equipped with handling the LGBTQ community. As you said, you're a affirmative therapist, but not everyone's like. So how can mental health be made more accessible to the community? As you know, parents themselves might want to know how they could help their child to go for therapy, talk about these things, process or acceptance in general.
Um, so number one, I think gradually mental health community is becoming queer affirmative. Uh, what I mean by being able to access, mental health professionals is by just asking mental health professionals if they are queer affirmative and they are inclusive. Some will say yes. The next question could be just asking them that, you know, have you been trained to be a queer affirmative therapist? I think that's a simple question. Second, also a good inclusive, aware mental health therapist will have pronouns, will have certain books in their clinic which relate to that, will have a pride flag. These are simple things that mental health professionals also make changes at their clinic space. Even when they start the questions about history, to the client, they will ask about gender and sex in a very open way, that you can, so there is male, female, and other sex. There is, so we'll have questions which also signify that we are queer mental health professionals. So being aware that this is possible, when you go and ask for help from a mental health professionals, you are also liable to ask them these questions. Second, of course, I have a combustive list as a queer affirmative therapist of people who are trained and who are good at this work. You can always approach me at any point in case you require such a list or such a kind of counselor in any city. I try to make it possible that I'm aware of whichever cities or towns. And that list is increasing because we have training for such professionals to be a queer affirmative. So this is what simply you can do. And I think SKU also will have a list of professionals within Pune or within country of who are queer affirmative and who can these people go to if at all they are required.
Thank you, that was helpful. So we've gone through all the questions, and I hope these questions and the session has cleared everyone's doubt. So once more, if anyone still has any more questions, they can either type it out in the chat box, so they can directly ask the question.
If there's any concern with typing it in open, you can direct message me also. So that's also fine.
I guess not. So anyway, thank you so much, Ruchi, for giving us your time and educating us on the different aspects of the LGBTQ plus community. It was really insightful. I mean, there were aspects like neopronouns and gender neutral parenting that I myself didn't know about. So that was something that I could actually, be like, yeah, this is one aspect that's there, and I could explore or read up more about it. So thank you so much for this. And also, I would definitely like to thank Dr. Girija and the Bharati Center for Emotional Wellbeing for giving us this platform to actually have this kind of webinar for the parents, because it's important for parents to know about these things to be able to create that supportive environment for their children. So thank you so much. And also thank you to everyone who has joined the Zoom meeting, as well as those who are watching the YouTube live. So it has been a very, yes, it has been a very big pleasure to hosting this webinar. And I hope it was all insightful, and may you all parents with pride.
Thank you, Elisa. You did quite a good job. And thank you, Girija ma'am. And thank you, SKU again.
Most welcome, Ruchi. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And it was, I couldn't attend the entire session. Sorry, I had some parents come in to meet me. But whatever I heard, I could hear that, you were putting things in a very simple and practical way. So I'm sure that it has helped our parents understand and about the LGBTQI plus community. And I'm sure that they're going to parent with pride and take it forward from there. So thank you so much, Ruchi. Look forward to many more associations with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you.
You too.
Thank you so much.